Alright guys, I went onto the Dagcoin Explorer and I wanted to go and test one particular thing, but I also I'm going to be bringing up a second video because I wanted to chase a rabbit down a warren. So that's going to be in a second video, but I'll do this one for now. So what I'm going to do, one of the things I started to notice was that some of these transactions seem to be very, very, very small. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to go back and count some of the transactions that are really, really small and some of the transactions that are really, really big, and just try to compare them, because I'm finding that there's lots and lots of transactions which are so small that it doesn't even seem like a normal transaction. So I would consider them to be fake transactions. And the only reason why I believe that they are there to keep pushing the transaction through. They're there to be able to always make sure that there's like the small, I guess, current on the bottom of the river, just sort of just pulling the chain along. Not in a way that just to keep it moving, but if anyone actually does like a transaction at one particular minute, that there's enough of a small undercurrent to be able to pick that up and then push it forward, right? So I mean, you can see that they're moving there. So one of the things I want to do is I'm going to end up counting 1 full hour's worth of transactions, find out how many transactions there actually is, how many are fake and how many are real. I won't bore you with the whole 1 hour. I'll make it really fast for you guys. But as I said before, so I kind of liken some of these small transactions to sort of like passing sandbags along. So everyone is just sort of waiting there, and they're just basically passing it one to the next, to the next, to the next, just to make sure that when let's say you're the blue person here, and the computer is this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So when you jump in, there's enough people throwing sandbags that when your transaction gets listed, it gets passed on by a volunteer bot. So that bot will volunteer to be able to make a tiny transaction to make sure that your transaction doesn't sit there for an hour or so. So if they do it every few minutes or so, that means that there's a little bot who's happy to go out there and spend like a MilliDAG to be able to push your transaction forward. So that's what I mean by it providing an undercurrent. The bot is there to jump up and to initiate a transaction to push your transaction through, so it doesn't sit idle waiting for things to happen. Now, just so that you can see what I mean when I'm looking at this sort of stuff. So this is one of the ones which actually has those milli dags. And when I read this, I'm just going to read it because there's six numbers behind the decimal point, and in this time I'm just going to call it 18 MilliDAGs. Right? This one's got 25. This one's got 4. We've got 34, 41, 9, 4, 31, 9, 6, 44, 4, 38, 2. So you generally get the idea. And strangely enough, there's actually more fees paid by pushing these tiny transactions through. So you will have a very small balance pushing a very small amount of transaction through, and the fee will actually be higher. But the fee is going straight to the dagcoin.org anyway, so they don't really care about paying a higher transaction than what the transaction actually is. There's just 2 MilliDAG transactions. So as you can see here, this is basically a bot that is providing some form of an undercurrent for everyone else's transactions, just to make sure that when your little tiny boat jumps into the river, it just gets dragged along and gets pushed forward. So now back to here. Okay, so what we've got here, so I am going to start the counting, and just so that your reference here, so I got 23:45. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial it all the way back to 10:45, and I'll speed that up real quick so you won't see it. So I'm just going to count them and count all the ones that are actually valid transactions. 19, 38, 57, 76, 96, 133, 152, 184, I'm just going to include, 210, 229, 248, 255, 268, 288 is very interesting. 309. I'm going to include 326. 328. 347 has 50,000. 376, 377, 393, 397, 398, 401, 410, 416. I'm going to say about 415 is the total for 1 hour. Okay, now just to cap it all off and get the results. So I counted in a 1 hour block 415 transactions, of which total 25 of them seem to me of some sort of significant value. About 390 of them just turned out to be something with a small MilliDAG amount on the end of it, and so I considered them to be, useless and not a real transaction, just some sort of redundant transaction. So running the numbers, so when we got, we got 390 fake transactions in an hour, 25 real, and 415 in total. Dividing that down into minutes, so you've roughly got 6.5 fake transactions per minute, 0.4 real transactions per minute, and 6.9 transactions per minute, which are total. And when you break it down into the seconds, you've got 0.1 transaction per second of fake transactions and 0.0069 or 0.007 per second of real transactions, and for a grand total, and this is just include absolutely everything, so it just tells you what the network's actually doing. So 0.11 transaction per second. So I did this video back quite a few episodes ago where I basically said, well, Bitcoin's got roughly between 3 to 7 transactions per second in real time. These are all full blocks. They are all getting filled. But the DAG chain right now is at 0.11 transactions per second. So forget those stupid things about million transactions per second. The DAG chain is not even anywhere near it. It's not even at 1 transaction per second yet. Not even at 1 transaction per second. But on this whole scheme of things, that basically, on what I'm trying to say to you, is all the transactions you're seeing on this DAG chain right now a large majority of them are fake. They are just small, minute, 4 MilliDAG transactions just to push the chain forward, and that's it.